Morning. How's everybody this morning? Okay. So it's 1990 and I'm 21 years old and I'm sitting on a police counterinsurgency base in a town or in a place called Niet Verdiend. In other words, we deserve nothing. That's what niet verdiend means. Niet verdiend, or we got it without deserving it. We earned it without deserving it. We earned it for free. Niet verdiend. The place is about, sorry, let me just move this back a bit. This place is, I don't know, a little distance from a town called Zeerust on the Botswana border. And I'm doing a 3-month, what we used to call a bush trip there, working counterinsurgency, and primarily to stop ANC Umkhonto we Sizwe operatives from crossing into South Africa from that particular African state. Those were the orders we were given. I mean, I don't know if they really did or if they didn't, because we never ever found any. But the point is that we were there for 90 days, and I'd been in police college 2.5 years prior to that, where professors from universities, instructors, brigadiers, colonels, generals had all come at some other time to give us a word on why, in fact, it was acceptable for us to do what we were doing. In fact, not just acceptable, but patriotic. You're doing it for your country, you know, because at the bottom, at the core of it, is that most of us are in the police, not because we per se wanted to join the police force of the apartheid regime, but it was an alternative to going to the army and being sent to Angola and Southwest Africa. So at least the police offered you the opportunity of being closer to home. So many guys bit the bullet and took the extra 2 years, because you had to sign a 4-year contract to join the police. I'll tell you right now, I joined the police for one reason only, to be a policeman. I've always wanted to be a policeman. That was what I wanted to be from when I was a kid. And anyway, here we were. And after months and months and months of rigorous training, and then counterinsurgency training, and then riot training, and all the training, to impress upon us the absolute dire need to stop the ANC, MK guys from bringing arms, ammunition, propaganda, doctrine into South Africa, which we then went and did. Spend hours and hours on roadblocks, hours and hours walking foot patrols in the bush, hours and hours and hours in Caspers. And sorry, this was 1991. I lied to you. It wasn't 1990. It was 1991. And one morning early, we all got called into the TV area, which was like a boma. And we all sat down and said, right, watch this. And it was F.W. de Klerk on TV declaring that the ANC was now unbanned. And not only were we to not engage, we were to now, overnight, after having years of this indoctrination, actually the indoctrination started at school, but years and years of this police indoctrination drilled into us, that not only were we not to engage on any level, but in fact we were now to hug and kiss and pretty much make love to anyone that was a member of the formerly, as per 15 minutes ago, formerly banned organizations, communist, satanic organizations that we were made to believe that they were. Right, and lo and behold, 2 days later, a helicopter landed in the front of the base, and guess who jumped out of the helicopter? The Minister of Police, Adrian Vlok, to come and encourage us in making this most dramatic transition that had been decided by his government. Now, as part of that government, there was a guy called Rolf Meyer. Oh, that name ring a bell. Now, nothing quite screams hypocrisy more than a government who now is rocking on its heels. I promise you, these guys are rocking on their heels. They've been hit with some major blows now. You must understand that America has now got full control of that strait that, everyone was claiming Iran won the war. America's got full control of that Strait of Hormuz. No oil is getting in and out of there. Nothing is getting in and out of there. Nothing is getting in and out of there. Which has put a stranglehold on the oil supply, particularly for those that are BRICS aligned. So if I had to just take a guess, I'm no expert, but if I had to take a guess, India gets its oil from there, China gets its oil from there, Brazil would have got its oil from Venezuela, which is under American control. So now, what's the score? The score is that this ANC has spent now the last couple of years screaming at Donald Trump about what a mugu he is and what an idiot he is, and now he has literally got control of the oil, of the world's oil supply, because the Gulf states are squarely in his corner. Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar are all in his corner in terms of what's going on there in the Middle East. So, and they control what America doesn't control, and they are now allied with America. So where does that leave Cyril and his merry bunch of morons? It leaves them in a very difficult place, because guess what? A couple years back, Gwede Mantashe sold all our oil reserves for 10 cents on the rand. They shut down our refineries, and they limited Sasol's fuel producing capacity to 20%. Then Ibrahim Rasool fluked everybody in America and was thrown out. Now they're blocking Elon Musk from putting Starlink in South Africa. And while that's all going on, America takes control of the Strait of Hormuz and puts a full military Navy blockade there. No oil is coming in and out, which means no oil is coming out here. So now what are they going to do? I'll tell you what they do. They go and dig up Rolf Meyer out of whatever catacomb they found this guy, who is part of the regime that they swear high and low is the reason for all their problems in South Africa. That's what they keep telling their supporters. Apartheid, National Party, this, that. This guy was a cabinet minister of the National Party. And they go and dig this up. And I'm sure I instructed him and said to him, listen, boss, you know what language these others speak. Go make a plan there, please. Please, guys, go negotiate. We won't make any more trouble, but we don't want to go to jail, and can we please keep our money? And please, sir, can we have a little bit of oil there from Texas, Uncle Trump, sir? When on the world stage, they're screaming and shouting out, they've got everything under control, and their biggest ally, Iran, is just absolutely decimating the United States. You know, you have to be spectacularly retarded to believe anything these people say. And then, while that's going on, now you must remember, Rolf Meyer, you've got to understand something. Like I said, firstly, is viewed by a large portion of South Africans as a part of the apartheid regime. He was a cabinet minister. And he was involved with CODESA. Now that brings us to the other side. There's another side of the South African public that absolutely 100% regard Rolf Meyer as a traitor to his country. And please believe me that my guess would be that the guys that first went to go see Donald Trump view it from that perspective, and will have already been speaking to people in America about it. This is a ploy. This is an absolute ploy. This is the ploy of a desperate, crumbling, tyrannical, racist regime doing its absolute best now to go and find some white guy that can go and plead their case to Donald Trump. The biggest mistake people are making around the world is they think Donald Trump is stupid. This is the problem, is that, it's the problem criminals have as well. Criminals always think the police are stupid. And this is why they keep getting caught, because they come from a position of arrogance, believing that because they've never been caught before, the police are just a bunch of retards and they're never going to get caught. I was one of those flippant criminals, believe me. And I was extra special because I believed, because I had a background in the police, I knew everything there was to know about policing and investigation and dockets and this and that. And so when I engaged in my drug-addicted life of crime, I thought I was above the flippant system. The system quickly sorted me out when I found myself sitting in Modabi prison awaiting trial. And then I quickly realized you're not as clever as you think you are, Dave Barber. The police actually seem to be cleverer than you, because there was something I never ever figured out, and I figured it out there. You got to get away with every crime you commit, every time you commit the crime. The police only have to catch you once. They don't need to catch you every time. You have to get away every time, but at some point you're going to slip up and the cops are going to catch you. And this is exactly what's happening to this government. They've been getting away with it for so long that they think they're above every parameter of what any civilization in the world considers acceptable behavior. And now there's a new policeman and a new prosecutor and a new judge on the block, and they thought they were going to slip this flippant one as well, and they haven't. Same with Mkhwanazi, the whole Mkhwanazi thing. Same with Julius Malema. They keep thinking they're going to get away with it because they've always got away with it. And unfortunately, one day you meet the wrong policeman, the wrong prosecutor, and the wrong judge, and you find yourself doing 20 years imprisonment, which is busy happening to Julius Malema now. And now his supporters are threatening, we'll make the country ungovernable. Well, my advice to you is try it. Try it. We as the working class of South Africa, the tax base, the backbone of this country, black, white, colored, and Indian, are challenging you to try that shit. And we will do to you exactly what we did to the looters in KwaZulu-Natal in 21. So bring it on. You're welcome to go burn down everything you own. You're welcome to go burn down all your schools. You're welcome to go burn down all your stuff. But I promise you, if you come near us, this time, it's not going to be like 21, where we had to scramble and put together militia to flip and protect our areas. We are organized and we are ready for you. The minute the first petrol bomb or stone leaves your hand to attack any one of our civil society or damage any of our institutions or loot anything that we've built, you're going to feel the wrath of the common South African, who, by the way, are 95% of this country. You're a 5% minority. So my advice to you is stay in your lane. before you run into a problem and you find yourself in a very difficult situation. Believe me, your supreme leader committed an offense. He fired an unlicensed firearm in public, in a public space, over many people, endangering their lives. He broke the law. He broke it on video. He's been found guilty of that law and he must pay the price. This is not a political move. This is a guy, if I did exactly the same thing, I would be in jail right now. End of story. All my firearms would be confiscated. I would be in jail. So why should the law be different for him? And then on top of that, we have all these allegations surfacing in the Madlanga Commission. His cousin, for God's sake, has just been arrested for I don't know how many million rand in fraud. We have the VBS thing still hanging over their heads. At what point must a man be held accountable for his actions? But he's never been held accountable. Now he's being held accountable. And you don't like it. Now I'm saying to you, don't try that cuck, or you will be held accountable. All right. For me, the hypocrisy of this country is just becoming overwhelming. The hypocrisy of the politicians in this country. As Byron said it this morning on, I think it was Byron that said it this morning, Microsoft, Ford, all these countries, all these companies operate without having to submit to black ownership. Why must Elon Musk? And the bottom line is because Elon Musk is a white South African. Those countries are not South Africans. And so they want to make an example. Actually, it wasn't Byron. It was Stefan Zere. They just want to make an example. BEE was never about black economic empowerment. BEE was always about punishing whites. And that's what they're trying to do to Elon Musk. But they don't understand. They're punishing themselves. They're punishing themselves further because Elon Musk is the richest man in the world, living in the most powerful country in the world and has the ear of the president of that country. You're making your life a misery and you're making our lives a misery while you do it. But it's okay. We'll stick it out and wait and watch. When you're pulling the Robert Mugabe, whose country doesn't have even their own currency, because he was such a super clever that he was going to show and not be bullied by America and the West. He's doing great. He's doing great. And that's what you're hoping for our country. But I want you to know this. There's some of us in this country, doesn't matter how bad you try and crush us, we will survive. We will survive, and not only will we survive, we will flourish. And we will stay here and flourish to rub it in your face. Have a nice day. Cheers.